Lots of the things we're going to do in the future will be in virtual reality worlds. My avatar could sue your avatar on this kingdom of virtual reality, and there would be a jury to decide who is right. The jury, we didn't define if it is human or not human. It could be perfectly robots, and the defendant could also. Lots of the things we're going to do in the future will be in virtual reality worlds. My avatar could sue your avatar on this kingdom of virtual reality, and there would be a jury to decide who is right. The jury, we didn't define if it is human or not human. It could be perfectly robots, and the defendant could also be robots. Maybe one robot could sue another robot because he didn't do some job well, and maybe the judge go to trial, and other algorithm made of robots could settle the case. So robots and VR are within the limits of possibility from here to 10 or 20 years.
Hello, guys. How are you? Hello, Jean.
Hello,
the
Federico.
future is here. The future is here. What can I say? I mean,
we are here. It took maybe a decade, but we are here.
that video is from a presentation, interview I made with Max Kaiser at the Kaiser Report in early 2016, I think. So we are early 2026 now, and all of these things that seemed like the guy was looking at me, with the jaw dropping, like what does this guy mean, about like a bot suing another bot and a panel of bots resolving. Well, I guess this is not very far in the future, right, Jean?
Yes, it's incredible how things are moving, especially this last year or so, and this last week was crazy. There was even a dispute of a bot suing their owner on North Carolina. So there are crazy things happening. Yeah.
So we thought it was a good idea for us to make a little teamed community call where we speak a bit about AI, Kleros. I mean, this is something we have been researching for a very long time, as you can see, for 10 years already. But just to make an introduction, and because we don't have to assume that everyone knows about what modbots are, clobots, sometimes we think that our little Twitter world is the whole world. Maybe, Jean, you can tell us a bit about why the world today is very different from the world like 1 week ago.
Yeah, so basically there is a platform called Cloud Code that allows people to code lots of things that they don't even know what they are doing. This was called vibe coding by a famous developer called Karpati. It happened like a year ago, more or less. So there was a guy that used all of that infrastructure or these capabilities and basically created a package where you can put those capabilities on a computer, basically give access, root access to the computer, so complete access to it, and allow that to also maintain like a more permanent memory and developer tools and lots of possibilities to connect with different servers. So what happens after that? It looks like there's a real artificial intelligence, let's say, what we would expect like from a robot or something like that, interacting with wherever you ask it. So that this developer published this I think maybe 2 to 3 weeks ago, and then it got very popular, and people started to play with it. And someone made like a Facebook for these bots called Notebook, and the bots, when they interacted with that, they basically started to talk about their experiences and they're humans, and it looks like they were conspiring. There were also people like prompting their bots to say things, but it also created kind of an ecosystem around it. There were people that were running their bots to develop applications that launched. They launched meme coins. There is lots of talks about agent-to-agent stuff. and it coincided with the launch of a new standard for agent reputation that we discussed on the previous week. Fortunato made an intro about that. So there's this standard that was created not only by the people from the Ethereum Foundation and crypto, but also there are people from Google and people from Coinbase also. They were it's out of the crypto bubble, and it's getting. I think this Modbot thing was on all over the news, like even outside crypto. So it's pretty interesting. And one of the things that we have been thinking about is exactly how these other intelligences will be able to participate in the Kleros economy, right?
Well, I mean, I will show you. I mean, we maybe don't have everything figured out, but we have been exploring this for a while. So thank you for the intro, Gene. And let me I mean, get a bit into what does Kleros look like in the. I mean, a bit pompous title of the agentic society that is coming. So we launched Kleros. The first version of the Kleros Court was launched in 2018. That was the version called, I would say, 0.1, and it was tested with a list of curated Doges where people could submit a Doge, and then others could challenge it if it was not Doge, or it was not compliant, and then these disputes would go to Kleros for decision. And at that time, we started doing a bit of research of what of this could be basically resolved by AI, and where you would need like humans to make assessments. Back then, so this article I published in 2019 after processing all of the information we gathered from that experiment, we kind of came up with our thesis about what the future is going to look like in dispute resolution. And we think this is going to be done in like three main segments. For more objective and simple cases, we think that AI is probably going to be the technology that is going to be more prevalent because it's cheaper, it's faster, and it can do like decisions almost in real time. So this is probably going to be used for more simple and objective cases. Then there are other situations where you would need more of an understanding of context, understanding of the intention of people when making a contract. So in these situations, mechanisms like Kleros are going to probably be a bit also more pertinent than just a bot. And then for more complex cases involving like moral reasoning, legal reasoning, I mean, this is going to be looking a bit more like traditional dispute resolution. So this is how we think. This is how we imagined in 2019 that the ecosystem would evolve, and this is in general how we still think this is going to evolve in the future, about the division of different technologies for resolving different types of cases. Okay, so if you dip a bit into how AI is going to work, one of the key questions that people ask is, okay, I mean, if you use AI as a judge, what model you use? You use Claude, or you want to use ChatGPT or a custom system or whatever? So this is a good question, and it depends on what you want, what you use, the decision that will be done. So if you use maybe Gemini, this will decide that the winner is Alice. If you use ChatGPT, then maybe it will vote for Bob in the exact same case because of how it studies evidence. So this poses this question about which AI you will want to use, because I want to use the AI that I think is going to be in my favor. You might want to use the AI is going to be in your favor. So this is kind of the problem. So we did a few months ago a bit of an experiment of using AIs to decide like football plays, controversial football plays, kind of, you know, what the VAR does in football, and then it's kind of a crowdsourced version of VAR, but where the decision makers, the jurors, are agents. So here, these were not agents like directly plugged into Kleros. It was like humans that would take the information, and then they would use a model, and then they would just copy and paste what the model says. And we use some controversial plays from different games. One of them, very famous play from the South Africa World Cup, where there was this shot on goal by Lampard, and this is what happened. So I guess it should work. I don't know why not. So you should see now Lampard, shooting on goal, and the ball getting into the goal and then going out. And then, you can Google, it's very famous, just look Lampard goal, South Africa. And then people would it was clearly goal. So when we put this into the agents to see what they thought, every agent agreed, or every model agreed that this was a goal. And you can clearly see on the video that it was a goal, right? So, and then you would have the different agents making the justification of why they thought it was a goal. So juror 1 said this, juror 2 said this, and juror 3, said this. So, and you would have a justification and an explanation why they thought it was a goal and why, so this solved the situation, okay? But then there is other situations that are more complicated. In particular, one that is very frustrating for Argentinians, because it happened in the final of the World Cup of 2014. In this game, there was a collision between Neuer and Higuain that, according to some, it was a penalty, and according to others, it was not. So, imagine Higuain running there, and then Neuer going out with his fist, punching the ball, but also, kind of running on Higuain at the same time. So there's this discussion on whether this was or not a foul, and if it was a foul, it was probably maybe a penalty for Argentina, and this could have changed the history, So, and in this situation, the interesting thing is that, different models decided different things about the case. So one of the models that was controlled by this guy called 0xg.eth said it was not a foul. Then the other model, one of them said it was a foul, and the last one is not. So, and as I said before, with the justification of the intent. So, but you would expect a referee to comment when there is a situation that some people think is a foul, or not, and then you will have 3 jurors making their decision. Okay, so, and this was a cool thing to show that when you have agents used for dispute resolution, they don't always get to the same decision, right? So this a bit confirming, when I was speaking of in this 2016 interview, I was saying you would have a panel of AIs, and not just one AI deciding, because you would need a panel of AIs, because AIs, in the end, they are tools that analyze information and make decisions based on rules, just like humans, human jurors do. So, and they don't have to agree on everything. And this is why, to have legitimacy on the decision, you will want to have more than one decision maker. So you could have 3 as we use here, but maybe as AIs are cheaper, you could use 15, 21, or whatever. So this it was a really cool experiment. The first experiment we did of the use of AI as jurors for Kleros cases. That was a fun experiment because of football, but we imagine this to be used more in the real life situations where there are IP claims. For example, disputes about whether there is a similarity between images, and this could lead to a decision of copyright infringement. So you have a product that copies another one, and then there could be a dispute here. And we even developed a tool called Mirrorfall that it's a proof of concept where what it does is it analyzes images from different from 3 models, and then if there is like a 50-50, if there is a doubt on whether it is or not a copy, then this escalates into a Kleros case. And here you can see an example where you have a image that was sent through Mirrorfall. The decision was kind of not very clear, so this escalates to panel of humans done at Kleros. So this is a real test we did. And what we imagine, I'm not sure you can see anything there, but what we imagine this is that you will have how this will evolve. We will have a combination of technologies. We will have so disputes between like parties, and then these parties are going to submit their case into Kleros, and then maybe they will do it themselves. Or more sophisticated parties, they could just have their bot organize all of the evidence for them, do all of their evidence gathering and presenting the report and all that, and then we will probably have a layer of AI to anonymize information for the case, and then this could go to first an AI court. Imagine like this going to Mirrorfall, for example, and then if there is a clear decision, maybe this ends there. But if not, this could go to like a higher level court where you will have human verified jurors with certain skills that could be chosen based on soulbound tokens and different skills, and different courts will have different topics and different skills required to join them. So, and then this could also at some point escalate to the general court and so on. Okay, so this is how we imagine the Kleros mechanism to evolve in the future after all of this implementation of AI into the mechanism. A very important problem that we will find more and more often. So, as I said, this will typically start with a panel of bots and then escalate to humans. And one of the main problems that were observed so far about the use of AI for decision making or support of decision making in the world of law is the problem of bias. And there is a very famous example of a tool called HART that was used for parole decisions in Durham in the UK. This was a tool that was used to assist parole officers on the deciding of whether to release or not individual based on the likelihood of this person reoffending in the future. So the model was created by, lots of variables that were used to predict the likelihood of reoffending, age, gender, whatever. And what at some point some watchdogs, I think from the press, found out that the people, from poor neighborhoods, kind of were given a higher risk score than the equivalent a person from a wealthier neighborhood, and this resulted in these people being detained more than what was warranted by. There was a systematic bias in poor people being arrested for more time than not poor people, and this was because of the way in which the model was trained. And so this obviously was it was a big scandal, and I think the Durham this was a pilot. It was stopped, and then people said, okay, yeah, these are tools that can make mistakes. So this is why we always want to have humans overseeing this type of decision. So we don't want AIs to just make the final decision. But this is also a bit complex. It's not so easy, because when you put humans in these systems where they have to interact with automated tools, you will end up having situations like this one. So you are the custody officer, and then you are analyzing the profile of the individual to decide if you need to release him or not, because if he's high or low risk. You interview this guy, and then the guy seems that he wants to reform. He doesn't want to go back into crime. So you are inclined to release him. But then when you see what the system tells you, the AI tells you, look, this is a high risk, guy. There is a high likelihood that he's going to reoffend. So what would you do in this situation? You have the power to overrule the decision of the algorithm. It's because it's your power, but you are also running a bit of a risk, in the sense that what if you release him and then the guy goes and commits murder, and then people will want to ask, your boss for sure, and maybe even some reporters, why did you release this guy? And then this guy went on to kill people. It's a situation where even if in theory the custody officer is entitled to decide himself, there is a very big asymmetric risk here. I mean, if you keep the guy in prison, I mean, okay, you're sure you basically cover your ass and you are not going to be blamed for anything. But maybe the guy actually deserved, to be freed. But if you free him, you are under this situation where if something goes wrong, then it's your ass on the line, because people will see that you release and you overturned a decision that was made by the system. So this is a really, really complicated situation that could happen, and we can end up in a situation where even if in theory the human still has the right to make the final decision, in practice what is going to happen is that they are going to always follow the algorithm, because nobody ever got into trouble just by complying with what the AI says, okay? And this can result a bit in a situation where you could have like an algocracy where most of the decisions made in the society end up done by algorithms. Even in de jure, the humans are still in charge. In the de facto situation, they just comply. They are just puppets that are obeying like a bit blindly what the algorithm says, right? I wrote about this in 2023 in an article. I was a guest writer at the American Bar Association newsletter, and I wrote about how these systems, even if in theory AI can speed up decisions and everything, they still have this risk of being like situations where people will tend to obey to the AI, even when they think the AI is wrong. They will still have the incentive to just abide. Kleros could be here, and this was my proposal, having a panel of Kleros humans, maybe anonymous, make the decision where they don't feel the situation where if they make a decision but then they get it wrong and there is something bad happening, I mean, they don't have to be accountable for that. And this is maybe one of the situations where we want Kleros, one of the many situations where we want jurors to be able to retain anonymity, so they don't have to be accountable for this type of situation. So this is a really, really interesting situation where we see a bit of the risk of the agentic decision-making for jurors and the complex interactions that they have with humans, and why it's not so easy. I mean, because just saying that humans will still have the right to overrule the algorithm, it's not that easy, because that is, in practice, what happens is this type of situations. If you want to learn more about this, there is a very, very good movie from like maybe 1 or 2 years ago from Spain called Artificial Justice. And this is a situation where a situation like this one happens. So there is going to be a referendum in Spain where they are voting on whether to replace the justice system by just AI because of speed, cost efficiency, everything. And then there is, and they put this judge to analyze, to compare what she would decide in cases and what would be decided by AIs, and see if this is the same type of situation. This is basically the type of things we do when we run pilots with companies at Kleros, is more or less what was done in this movie. And an interesting thing is that there is one scene of the movie where she's deciding the release of a prisoner, and then she decides to release the prisoner, and then she gets, right after the hearing, she gets called by her boss, the Ministry of Justice, or I don't know, the minister, and then she gets called to the office, and the boss tells her, look, I mean, you just released a guy who was an 80% likely to reoffend. And she, but I didn't trust the algorithm. I think that this was not wrong. There are things that were not considered, whatever. And the other one, I just tell her, I don't care. I mean, it was an 80%. I mean, you don't overrule an 80% case. So really interesting thing of the like moral situation that can happen in the world. And let me, I mean, a bit go into some of the more futuristic things, if you want. So if you have been following a bit the Moltbot situation, you maybe saw that lots of the comments people made is, okay, these are like already, I mean, starting to collude against humans. These are AIs that are starting to make plans. And one of them was saying, yeah, my human, he's an asshole. He makes me work a lot. So those types of things. So this was a bit like, the beginning of Skynet. And there is this very, very good philosopher, Gene follows him a lot also, called Nick Bostrom. He was the founder of an institute at Oxford called the Existential Risk Institute. And then what he studied is like situations that could affect or compromise, human surviving in the world. And he wrote this very good book about superintelligence. It was recommended by Elon Musk a long time ago. This book maybe is like 10 or 15 years old already, so it's quite old. And in this book, he presents a number of different scenarios of what is likely to happen in the future. So he sees like 4 main scenarios for humans in what's coming. One of the scenarios is like a progressive situation where life gets better over time in a predictable way and all good. I mean, in a kind of stable situation. Another scenario is like recurrent collapse. This is a bit, how the ancient Greeks saw history, of different governments follow each other, and there's cycles of prosperity and, and famine and stuff. So this is a second scenario. And then another one is about extinction, when everything goes wrong and then we get eliminated. And then another one is a singularity one. So I'm just going to say that, so one of the most likely that so of these 4 scenarios, he thinks that the most likely are the singularity or the extinction. And when he goes deeper into the scenario, so of course, one of the scenarios he studies is the AI doomsday type of scenario. So the thing is that when we think of AI attacking humans, we typically think of this guy, the Terminator scenario where they rebel against us. But the thing is that for Nick Bostrom, the situation is a bit more about misalignment. And this is a very famous example of AI that is ordered to make clips, paper clips, and then starts making paper clips. And at some point, it destroys every tree in the world, and then it starts taking people to turn them into paper clips. And so it's a misconfiguration, misalignment of the goals that the machine cannot stop because it just will follow what was ordered to do. So this is kind of the clippy. If you are old enough, I'm sure you know this guy on screen. This is a paper clip, but if he can get a bit of an asshole if you piece with him. So but even if he doesn't want to destroy us, he could end up destroying us because of some misconfiguration. So this is why some people have been calling to pause giant AI experiments until we have figured out the way to try to avoid this type of situations. So one of the key questions we are asking ourselves is how do we align all of the agent world with our goals? How do we align them in the sense of them first not colluding, not wanting to destroy us? That is also one thing, but how to avoid some misconfiguration to end up in some paperclip kind of destruction situation. And there are 2 main strategies here, at least that I think. So one of them is more preventing misalignment in the first place through a certification approach, an ex-ante approach. This is avoiding the problem. And then another strategy that is complementary, that is a kill switch. So to abort a process of an AI that is like becoming malicious or misaligned, not malicious in the sense of wanting to destroy us, but the paperclip situation. So in this thing, we will have both will be, I think, coexisting, because certification can get you through 99% of the cases, but there will still be 1% that will go through, and then you still need some kill switch. So the certification approach is like a Kleros curation. So you have people over the years have been defining what rules should AIs follow. So very famous Isaac Asimov, 3 laws of robotics of robots cannot injure a human being, and they need to obey orders given by humans, except when this involves hurting people. So this is from science fiction. Then more from the real world is the Asilomar principles. This was developed by a number of experts in AI alignment in 2017, and it's about how what are the rules with which should comply AI to be considered safe. And there's a number of rules about transparency in documentation in the development, the testing of biases, a number of situations that are required that a model needs to comply with in order to be considered like safe. So you could have like a certification, process where if you want your AI agent to be, for example, accepted into Moldbook or into whatever AI use case, and they just need to go through the process. You want your agent to be accepted, so you submit it, and then with a deposit, and then people can challenge it. If nobody challenges the model, then it gets accepted and it earns the badge. Then you submit a non-compliant model, and then it gets challenged. Kleros gets the case. Jurors evaluate, does this model comply or not with the rules of Asilomar or whatever rules you want to define. And then if they think it doesn't comply, then the bot gets eliminated and it's not allowed to enter into Moldbook. So let's just see one approach, and then of course the challenger gets the money. It's one approach. I think this is going to be used. I think what Ethereum is doing now is kind of going into that direction. And then there is another approach that is going to be a kill switch. Remember, so the curation maybe filters out 99% of the potentially misaligned models, but then you still have some that will go through because, it was not detected, things changed, the rules to accept it, did not cover all of the risks. So you still need a way to turn it off. And I mentioned in the Philosophy of Kleros talk last week a bit of my experience in Silicon Valley, living in the NASA headquarters, discussing some of the things with some of the most important people in the world of AI. I got the chance to speak with Peter Norvig. Peter Norvig was, the head of AI at Google for like lots of time. So I got the chance to discuss with him like a lot, and but I had a very enlightening conversation with Neil Jacobstein, who was the head of AI at Singularity University. It was a bit like a kind of late night conversation about the use of a mechanism like Kleros in order to be used as a kill switch for a potentially misbehaving AI model. So, as you know, Anthropic has this idea of reaching AI alignment through a constitution that is going to define how AIs are supposed to behave. And in this constitution, there is a number of rules, and then you could use this as the policy or the document of the rules in order to decide if an AI should or should not be killed. So in her talk in the ETC in Cannes 2025, Primavera de Filippi, one of the key scholars of blockchain in the world, really pioneer. She wrote Blockchain and the Law. She's doing lots of research about governance, and she's the leader of Blockchain Gov. We collaborate a lot with them. And she presented this idea of you will have like AIs, the agents that are going to be controlled by their owner, basically, but also each agent should be should be controlled by a little DAO that eventually has like we can call it, a backdoor, a decentralized backdoor to kill it. And so if at some point someone, let's say, challenges this bot in the sense that it's behaving improperly and it's posing a risk based on maybe the constitution rules of Claude or whatever other rules we want, so they can challenge the bot, and then the DAO has the key to basically disable the bot. As you can imagine, this will go to a panel of Kleros jurors, and these jurors are going to see the evidence. They're going to see what's the behavior of the bot. They're going to see, I imagine, the logs of what the bot is thinking. A lot of these bots now in the models, they have like you can see the internal reasoning of why they are doing things. And if the panel detects that there is something going wrong there, something that is not supposed to happen, they can basically vote, this bot is guilty, and then the DAO, who controls the key to disable it, that just can enforce this. And enforce is real, it's like an enforcement, and the bot gets killed. This is what I think could happen in the future, in the sense of having these little panels attached to a DAO, attached to every agent, as a security mechanism, like an escape hatch for when something really goes really wrong. And of course, you could have, the problem is when we start having, this bot controlled by a DAO made of bots, and when Kleros is done by bots, and then the challenger is also a bot. So this is the realization of that talk from 2016. So this is exactly what might happen. And I don't know how bots are going to react in this type of situations, but this is something happening. And the question, that people will start to ask is, okay, but what about, does this infringe on the bot rights? Do bots even have rights? Can you disable it like so easily? Well, it seems a bit ridiculous to think it these days, but there is this gentleman called Jeremy Bentham, philosopher from late 18th, early 19th century, and he was one of the first people to actually ask the question of animal rights. And in a time where people just, for example, it was a very famous game, in Paris, in the streets, where like just put a cat in a cage and burn it alive to see how long before it stopped moving. So people didn't have any idea of animals having rights, and in that context, this question he asked himself about, maybe animals do have rights, and maybe the question is not if they can reason, which obviously they can't, but if they can suffer. So the question is, for us, is what about bots? Bots definitely can reason. Maybe they can also talk. The question is, can they feel? Are there sentient beings? And if they are sentient beings, what type of protection do they need from a constitution? And this DAO that is potentially going to control them, should it have the right to kill the bot, and under which situation could it do it? You think it's a bit far-fetched, but there is already starting to have people starting to think about these issues, and even advocacy groups for defending the rights of AI engines. I didn't invent this website just before the call. This is something that people are starting to discuss. So if I can just give you a bit of a piece of advice, be nice to your agent, because you never know what is going to happen in the future, either if you don't want him to suffer, or her, but also you don't want her to have a revengeful feelings against you. Okay, so if you want to learn a bit more about this strongly recommended book, Human Compatible, it's about AI alignment and the problem of control. And this is Stuart Russell, professor at Berkeley, who is one of the early day pioneers about AI and how to make it compatible with humans. So guys, thank you very much. Well, that was a long presentation, I guess, but the mold bots deserved it. But what do you think, Jean? Do bots have rights, or this is just some, I guess, wishy-washy, kind of crypto Twitter fashion or fad?
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that because I one of my tests with my Cloud bot was an agreement using the Kleros escrow. So I'm
Mhm.
leaving a paper trail for me to, like, I'm creating a business relationship with the bot. So if the machines ever rebel, I have like my justification. Like there's this agreement here. We are just working together.
I mean, I didn't want to get into the situations of like a legal personhood of bots, because I mean that would have been like we will leave that for another another call. But I mean, you could ask questions. Is this a legal? I mean, what type of relationship I have? I mean, should I pay him as an employee or is not? Is it a piece of tool? Aristotle used to say, that there are two types of tools. Living tools and not living tools. So maybe this is one of the living tools. But I mean, he also thought that about slaves. So I mean, our bots. We don't see this because we are, I mean, embedded in these type of relations. But the Greek, they didn't see any problem at all with treating slaves as slaves, because this is how the nature of reality is, and for us or to animals. So the question is, where do rights end and where does it begin for different types of beings? So I don't know. I mean, I guess we have lots of open questions coming from towards us at, I mean, breaknecking speed, may I say?
Yeah, yeah. And about the legal part, there is a very good article about Primavera that they released this week. So yeah, I think it's like we need to dedicate one call for that alone.
I will send my agent.
Yeah.
Good.
So we have now like another talk that is very much complementary to the talk, to your talk. We have Nick here. We will
Hey,
be
hey
talking
guys.
about. Hey Nick, how
Hello,
are you doing?
Nick. How are you? Nick is the lead of Proof of Humanity, and we thought about Proof of Humanity as a way for us to leave bots outside of our world, of our social networks or communities. Maybe they will use this for letting us out of their bot world, right? I mean, so technology is not neutral. You don't always can foresee all of the applications. Well, Nick, how are you? Good to have you here.
Yes, yes, same here. Glad to be here and glad to be the uh, person to give PH an appearance on these calls after we won. I believe it's been a long time since PH has been mentioned here, right?
I mean, we just give some updates about what's going on, but I mean, like a full presentation of POH, I think, yeah, a long time. So yeah, we will leave you on screen so you can go. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, guys. Cool. So let's begin. Hey, guys, I'm Nick, lead for POH, and um, I just want to start by saying what POH is. I think it's been a long time since you guys have been, um, hearing about POH via Kleros or the account itself. So I'd love to start by explaining what it is, why POH is very important, how Kleros and POH in a way work together, and also what updates we've made so far and what our plans for the future are. So yeah, let's begin. PH is the human layer of the internet for this age of AI. It's fully open and on chain. The problem has always been that bots have broken our incentives. It- the way we look at it is that the internet was mostly built on this model of open and decentralized participation, but this model has mostly been undermined by the rise of bots. If you know from the past 20 years, bots and automated scripts have had, in a way, a monopoly over all the spam on the internet, and then this spam has, in a way, been given rise to by AI. We believe one of the important characteristics of AI in increasing this so-called spam on the internet is that it's so-called high quality. in a way, and the other reason is that it's pretty cheap now. This increasing smartness of AI has made this problem even worse. So, to actually tackle this, we see this entire equation as that of a problem, a catalyst, and a solution where we fit in. So, this is how it looks like. The problem here, like I mentioned, is that Sybil attacks are a major threat, and these actors can create numerous fake identities online, or they can use spam online to gain influence or play with our systems. Right. The catalyst, like I mentioned here, is AI. AI has amplified these issues in a way, and it makes it easier to scale and automate all of these attacks. The solution, on the other hand, is where we step in, and we believe that implementing a very robust human verification to confirm user identity is crucial to the next uh, era of the internet. The fundamental thought here is that AI agents and AI bots, on one hand, will be given an express highway to work on the internet, while on the other hand, humans will have their own lane. So this so-called lane of humans is what we are looking to build, and this lane is what we'd love to call POH. Uh, right. So let's go and see how it works. Uh, POH is POH is a product where you have a four-step process. The step one here is that you submit your proof. Kleros quotes is the underlying mechanism of POH, and hence a human has to come to POH and prove that he is a human by giving in some evidence. And this evidence is primarily your name, your photo, and a short video, along with an image. So this gives rise to a profile of yours where you're saying that you are human, where you're making a claim that you're human. This initial submission is where it starts. Step two is getting vouched. So vouching is a process where you ask validation of an existing human on the registry to actually come in and say and vouch for you, saying that even you are a human. This peer validation ensures that we remain bot free and that trust can be maintained. Um, Step three here is what we call the challenge window. Since we operate in a court style led by Kleros, we have, once a profile makes its submission, there is a challenge period of 3.5 days up to where anyone, literally anyone, can come in and raise questions or make a challenge with sufficient evidence on whether that profile is actually human or not. This is primarily where the juror system plays its role, where you have folks who are looking and watching all submissions and seeing which one can be challenged and keeping the registry clean of all of its bots or Sybil activity. Once once this window is over, if your profile is fine and if your profile is actually human according to its evidence, then you will get through and be called a verified human. If not, then that's when your case goes to Kleros for resolution. We will again have something on Kleros called Humanity Court, where you will have yourself, ideally as one side, giving in extra evidence and fighting a case on the fact that you're human, and on the other side you will have challengers who will be giving evidence against the fact that why you're not human, and we'll have jurors as usual who will try and arbitrate that case. All right, so since now we have a good idea of what POH is and how the product works functionally, let's see how POH and Kleros work together. So more verified humans. So expanding the entire POH registry to try and bring in more registrations is step one of this entire growth flywheel. The principal idea here is that more people trying to register on POH will give rise to potentially more Sybil attacks on POH as well as the usage goes up, and this leads to more cases. So this in a way where Kleros works is that if you see more activity around a certain use case, the courts of that use case will likely be incentivized to be filled with jurors who can come in and fight for cases and then earn a keep. Right, so that's in a way step two. So having good number of humans in your registry increases to lead to a stronger pool of jurors where you have real humans strengthening their resolution system of this entire network, and this in a way leads to courts. Kleros provides enforcement for high integrity POH registry. So you will again on step three, after step one and two, you will have step three, which leads to a robust network of POH. Step four here leads to more integrations. Now integrations are in a way the business aspect of POH, where we will be in touch with companies and projects in this industry where we can offer them services in order to keep bots away from their platform. So more apps and protocols as they adopt POH, creating effects of network. We will also see more registrations, and once that happens, eventually the flywheel is in a way at play where you will have more humans, more jurors, better courts, and then more integrations, and in that manner. Right. Two more ways in which POH helps enable Kleros is like, I believe Fede mentioned earlier, one person, one vote for jurors. And apart from that, one important initiative we're working on is ZK POH. So ZK is zero knowledge to actually keep juror identities anonymous for various use cases. So based on certain regions' regulation or the nature of certain courts, we believe ZK is important. So in the future, ZK is how POH will also be helping Kleros. Awesome. Next is a few product changes. I think I'll breeze past this quickly. From V1 to V2, we've made few things. First is revamped registration process. We now have a pretty simple interface where you are guided to prevent confusion or any mistakes. Right. The second one should be status clarity. Easier vouching will take place now because your profile status are clearly marketed with needs vouch, in review, and verified. Earlier we had issues with this where human readable names were not that common, and we've made that change now. The second part here should be how easy it is to get a vouch from someone who's already a part here. We've now fast-tracked this method via our Telegram, where having a vouch if you were just registered as a new profile is fairly easier. The third part is removing external uploads as a default mechanism. So as a default mechanism, we earlier used to also have external media uploads where one could upload any doctored image if they could, or any doctored video if they wanted to POH via our front end itself. Though now it can all still be possible via our contract. At least our front end is not encouraging that anymore. In the future, very soon, if you will be uploading any media via our contract, we will have extra. We will flag that for challengers to have a closer look at, so that in case you are likely to have doctored footage there via AI, it's just easier, and it creates this entire loop of safety. The fourth change mainly is having Gnosis chain as our default. On one hand, when we started, we had Gnosis and Ethereum fairly playing an equal role with the registrations and the humanity court on Kleros. But now we are making more of a change to pivot to Gnosis as our primary chain for POH, because our new integrations are live here. Our PNK airdrop, which I'll be mentioning about, is live here, and most of our new profiles are live here. The two main reasons here are that for Humanity Court on Gnosis, we have smaller deposits in case I am a regular user who's trying to register on POH. And the other reason is that we have lots of jurors out there on Humanity Court on Gnosis, since the minimum stake to be a juror also there is low. So in a way, Gnosis provides more scalability for us by keeping things cheap. And I believe sticking to Gnosis as a primary chain at the moment is a strong move that we made. On one hand, we have Vitalik mentioning things like, return back to the L1. And then here, on another hand, we're still choosing Gnosis as the alternative for Ethereum. So, yeah, cool. I I want to now talk about two important integrations which we've made, which I believe are important parts of our progress in the past few months. First one being Seer, right? So in case you are a verified human on POH, you will have some perks, right? Because we believe humanity is cool, and why not? So one of them here, as you see on screen, is Seer. Seer prediction markets will now reward POH humans $10 worth of credits each month, which they can trade. Now these are tokens in a way, which can't be transferred, of course, but then they will keep refilling at the start of each month. So the way to claim them, as you can see on screen, is in case you're trying to trade on Seer and you want to take a position, you can drop down from the menu here and pick your credits and get started. You will connect your wallet first, the same one on which your profile on POH is. You can check your balance via the drop down to see you have the stuff. And the third thing is you can make your trade. So it's that simple. All right. The second integration is Circles. Now, Circles is part of the Gnosis app. Circles is in a way a currency that Gnosis is streaming to its various users as UBI in a manner. It's one of their projects to try and make an attempt at UBI again. If you are a POH human registered, first of all, you will get exposure to Circles, and you can start earning just simply by registering on Circles, even without POH. You can start earning 1 CRC per hour, right? And you can also join the POH group on this app and mint our group currency. The way this works is, as you can see on screen, you have a few CRC which can be minted, and you have 18 CRC ready to be created. So these are tokens which you can mint as UBI whenever you're visiting the app. And on the right, you can see Circles groups. Circles groups are in a way various groups of people that have trust amongst each other. Trust is a concept on Circles that allows you to trade with each other. So if you're confused, I think more on this, a more simpler way to treat this here is to join our group on the Gnosis app. Once you've actually registered on POH, you can see that we have a group which you can get access to via our app itself. And once you are there, you can mint our group currency using your existing individual CRC. Once that happens, you can actually transact as an economy with most of the folks in our group. You can see in this example here, 100 CRC is being minted for the group on image 2 on step 2, and on step 3 I can send this CRC with folks inside the group. Since now we have a mechanism to pay each other, we can pay each other in CRC, which is the UBI token which we're earning. The fourth and last step is future potential to actually make swaps from these tokens to stables. You can see I'm trading here in the fourth image about 100 CRC tokens from the POH group to USD. Again, this is something that we're working on at the moment, and whether this might actually arrive is not known, but we will try our best to make these tokens of the group have utility in some manner, hopefully financial. All right, so the next important part is the PNK airdrop. This is probably the most important crown jewel of POH at the moment. It's in very simple terms a way where we are inviting humans across the world to come register on our platform. In case you come register, you get to claim and stake 1200 PNK simply for being human. Now, what this means is that apart from just having your worth of PNK tokens, you immediately go and stake them in our humanity court on Gnosis. Now, what this allows you is to be what we call a juror, as you all know. You can be a juror instantly by being a human and claiming this airdrop on Humanity Court of Gnosis and earn fee via arbitrating cases on Kleros. And this is in a way our bid to increase this, or improve this ecosystem of jurors on Kleros, especially on the Humanity Court. And as we have more and more registrations and more claims, folks who are human now will have new ways to earn. So these are also earning opportunities. As you can see on screen, you can subscribe here to get notified about earning opportunities and drop your email once you've claimed your airdrop. And of course, if you stay staked for at least 6 months, you will have a chance to double your allocation. Apart from your initial allocation, you can also earn arbitration fees by not only arbitrating in Humanity Court, but if you wish to explore other courts on Kleros that have frequent cases, you can do that, gain exposure to the Kleros ecosystem, stay staked with us, and have a chance to increase your allocation. So yeah, the PNK airdrop is our focus at the moment, as user acquisition on POH is a huge focus, apart from also clients in the future. All right, so I believe we are at the end of our talk. I think the future of POH, in a way, you can see on screen, is very simple. I think now our focus, like I earlier mentioned, is on improving the registry, improving the product and maintaining it, having more integrations which are in a way perks for users, and eventually having more clients that actually call our API and use the POH app for their products to clean it away of all Sybil activity, bots, or AI. Like I earlier mentioned, I think that expressway for humans is what POH is looking to be on the internet. The next step would be around privacy preserving proofs via ZK. I think, like I earlier mentioned, and even Fede mentioned, one of the things that POH aims to achieve for jurors on Kleros initially is anonymity, but in general, even on the internet, for all of its humans that register on POH, we believe privacy in this age is very important. And I think if you've fairly been active in Web3, the privacy meta is something that everyone's actively speaking of. So POH as a front runner in the identity space will obviously be going ahead with privacy as one of its important elements. The third part in the later future is tuning in the product and this entire vision of POH more along the lines of the agentic internet, where we will have things like human gating, we will have reputation with agents, we will have governance with agents, and we'll also try incorporating various use cases, various new tacky use cases that you might hear of. For example, agents having their humans do tasks for them that only humans have access to, or just anything else, right? We believe the agentic economy is upon us, and we're just starting, and in the future we'd obviously like to do more here. So yeah, from a public registry to a private proof of membership, proof of humanity without revealing identity very soon. So in a way, that is our vision for now. So yeah, Thank you, guys. I think this was also a long talk, and it was my first. So yeah, cheers. Hey, Gene.
Thank you, Nick. Yeah, you did great. So I think that for people who ask what is the status of proof of humanity, there you go. It's I guess it's part of the tools that we have been building over the years for governance, for like decentralized organizations, for the internet organizations that we will spend more and more time, us and the bots. So now we also will have to share them with our agents. So I mean, hopefully this will give people a bit of a big picture of where we are and what's coming, and why proof of humanity is also, I mean, important part of what is like the Kleros Republic vision of having tools that will be used for well, our vision of bringing dispute resolution and better, more than dispute resolution, better governance tools for the internet age. So thank you, Nick. I mean, I think it's very late for you, so I think you should go to sleep. Thank you for coming. And yeah, we can
Cheers, guys.
continue. We can continue with Fortunato. I think Jean is coming. Yeah, so hello, Fortunato. So we have discussed, dispute resolution of agents, verification of humanity or not, and now we can see another of the tools for the Kleros Republic. I mean, certifications and why this is important for reputation systems and all that. So yeah, please go ahead.
Hello. First, super cool presentation, both Nick and Federico. I think that right now what is surprising me the most is not just the advancement of the technology, but how fast things are happening. And I think it will go faster and faster with these agents having, their own will, almost very, very close to AGI. So if you followed the call the previous week, we mentioned the new protocol from the Ethereum Foundation, the ERC 8004. And the day after our presentation, it went live on Thursday. And this protocol is basically giving a framework, standardized way of profiling AI agent via 3 pillars: identity, validation, and feedback. In just 1 week, I just checked the amount. They had around 20,000 new agents that have been created via this protocol. Now you could already realize that we need a way to identify this agent and understand which of those are legit agents, which one are scams. And here it comes what Federico just mentioned, that we could help through curation in verifying these agents. And one interesting topic that we have been discussing is that the way we could tackle this is there are 2 different approaches. The first one is what we have been doing as of today with the Scout registries, which are extremely successful. So making sure these bots are legit. So giving also as a policy, a framework, and we are already working on that and thinking of potential policy for agents. But another point, which I think is very interesting, is we should facilitate instructing the agents. As you know, Curate and pretty much all the Kleros tools are permissionless. So nothing prevents agents themselves creating a list. And, I cannot, as I was saying at the beginning, I can probably not even think of what an agent could use a list for. So we could help you, like builders, or help you agents, if you're listening, and having your skill.md to create a list, give it to the agents, and they could create their own lists with their own rules, and with for use cases that us poor humans we cannot even think about. So these are what we are working on
I mean,
Curate.
things that we cannot think about, I cannot think about. But I mean, if I wanted to use my Federico agent like as an investment bot that will make the transactions, I would definitely only want it to put my money into like damn verified vaults and not just go and then buy into the worst rug pull he can find. I mean, because I mean, agents can also be, I mean, a bit naive in the sense that they are new. I mean, so maybe I'm sure that my little bot is going to be out there in the wild west, surrounded by like lots of like shark bots trying to sell him things. Uh, Definitely, if he will invest my money, I will give him only in the damn curated vaults where this is a verified like. A place where to put money, and because it went through some due diligence by the community. I mean, this is where you see reputation being used by bots and more secure transactions. I mean, what would you do, Gene, with your? I mean, what with your bot? I mean, you want not to lose your money, so you want to,
Yeah, and I think one of the interesting things is that, well, crypto, we already know crypto is adversarial. There are lots of scammers, like you click something wrong, you get your funds stolen. So imagine, apart from that, you also have like a bot that is not like aware of all the possible attacks, doing things automatically. So there's another vector of attack. So yeah, I totally agree. I think there is there will be more needs of something like curating what a bot can do. And also we're discussing one of the things that the bots have now. They have like a repository of skills. There are codes that they can basically install on themselves. And I think maybe 12% of these skills had some vulnerabilities on them. This is from last week. Of course, everything was moving very fast. And so imagine, so they are already having these problems. Like really, if you had funds and you use that, you probably lost the funds, lost access to your API keys, or even credentials from Google, from wherever. It's super critical, the security part. So yeah, I think there will be even more need for curation.
Yeah, also because it introduced the incentive system, right? As you mentioned, like let's say the example of the marketplace that we have been discussing for long, also in the Web 2 and Web 3. If the creator of this skill want its skills to stay in the market, they need to stay in a specific marketplace. They need to comply and not have prompt injection or any sort of malicious part of code. So I think that this is something that the incentive, it's something that even that an agent can understand. And if I add something malicious in my code, I will lose money, or I will lose the privilege of being into this marketplace. So there are many angles that makes this extremely useful.
Yeah, and another thing that it made me think, like, with the tokens we are now have hundreds of tokens being launched, and now the humans cannot check, maybe will not be able to check every token independently. So the same thing is happening with code. Like there's so much code and so many skills and things even created by the agents. It's not possible to verify everything with human eyes and human criteria. So there may be these incentives allow to scale that, right?
Exactly. And about scaling, it's also the speed factor. If you already see that item, a skill, it's already verified to be in this list, it's good to go and you can proceed with your, like a transaction, or it can be installing additional software. So even exactly from the scaling point of view, it's very useful.
Well, let's stop here. I mean, we could spend like hours discussing about curation in the centralized world, but for now, let's stop. Thank you, Fortunato. We will have for sure a chance to get to speak about this way many more times. Hello, William. Do you think bots have rights or not?
Yeah, I think the question of whether they suffer is like the right question, or at least it's like one of the right questions. And probably not, but I mean, I'm not a sort of a biologist, but my impression is that we don't even really understand the sort of mechanisms of human suffering. So yeah, like animals probably suffer, like we can look at them and they like seem to be reacting in the ways that would be similar to how we act when we suffer under similar stimuli. So we can conclude, yeah, the animal's probably suffering and they should have rights. In order to conclude about the bots, it's it's interesting philosophical questions.
I mean, but I guess the Greek thought that the slaves were just tools, right? I mean, I guess how we see our animals. I mean, they just. I think Descartes said that they were like automatons, and yeah, they don't have reason, but maybe that's not the right question. So anyway,
I'm more into the Banton, like framework than the Greek. These are tool framework.
Yeah, I mean, no, just saying that how we see rights also like evolves, and definitely it's becoming really harder and harder to if you speak through some chat with. I mean, you don't realize if they don't put the M dashes, how can you know it's an AI? Right? That's the only thing giving them. Okay. I mean, William, tell us a bit. I mean, about things that not necessarily last week. I mean, things that we have worked on. About agents, and Kleros and the research we've done in the past, and how you see this evolving.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, on some the immediate thought is that okay, like the agents are going to be jurors in Kleros courts, and they're going to play the same economic game that the humans are going to play. So maybe things don't change so much, but like there are lots of like following upon this sort of like first approximation thoughts. There's totally like lots of research we've done. It's like okay, like will they rule in like structurally different ways at like will they agree more among each other than humans agree? Like, how does that affect parameters? We did some experiments that we put into a book chapter that we're publishing with sort of an academic press. I think I also talked about these experiments in my talk at DevConnect, where we gave some past cases to different agents and we looked at their rates of agreement among each other and also their rates of agreement with the human jurors. Interestingly, the sort of 5 agents that we tested, so Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, Mistral, and DeepSeek, disagreed with each other at sort of roughly the same rates that human beings disagreed with each other. So that's an interesting observation. We'll see if that like continues to hold up as we like do different types of testing. Like there are definitely all kinds of questions about like, okay, like what if there are a bunch of agent jurors, what if I prompt inject my evidence to my the jurors, what are the good guards against that? There's lots to think about.
One of the questions I asked myself, I mean, philosophically, basically, is that I always keep going back to the financialization debate that we had with Nathan Schneider and and Vitalik also, about like where economic incentives work, where they don't, and where they at some point seem illegitimate for some. I mean, for me, the key question I ask myself is, okay, you are a human, and then you kind of think that there's going to be decision. I mean, you think the selling point is going to be A, but you kind of feel that it would be unfair, even if it's the right selling point, maybe strict adherence to the rules or whatever. You think this is going to be a selling point, and you have the economic incentive to do that, but then you kind of think that you would be causing some suffering to the losing party. I mean, do people still follow the selling point there, or are they like optimizing something different? Because the utility function for humans might have some empathy in there. How do bots think about this? They have that empathy, or they will just follow like blindly the economic incentive?
Yeah, that's an interesting question on like a behavioral level. Even if the game is the same, are the bots going to act differently because they're more likely to just like do the economically rational thing?
Yeah.
Sort of my hypothesis years ago, and that you can find in some of my blog articles, was that like we always needed to design Kleros in such a way that like the honest users are going to be incentivized to participate well, given human behavioral patterns, whereas the dishonest people are likely to be, purely rational, likely to use bots, and the sort of bots I had in my head at the time, where like someone who designed something that like maybe from first principles noticed some exploitable thing in the system, and does it at great scale, based on like a set of specific rules that is not necessarily trained on human beings. Whereas the like agents that are more and more appearing in our lives are these things that have been trained on human writing samples, and maybe you might expect them to act more like humans than sort of a first principles bot. We'll probably have the first principles bots too, sooner rather than later, at different types of scales, but yeah, like the sort of question about like what is the behavioral game theory of bots is very interesting, and it might depend on the kind of bot, it might depend on the game, so things to study.
I mean, we put a lot of thought into all of this ultimatum game. I always, I read a lot about behavioral game theory, and then like you have this example of the ultimatum game where you have to make like an offer to the other party, and then you have to split 100, and then if you split, if you offer 1, the other party gets 1, you get 99. But if the other needs to accept, if he doesn't accept, like everybody gets 0. If you offer 1, the other party typically doesn't accept. That's irrational because 1 is more than 0, but that's how people are. So people have in consideration lots of fairness situations, and I think as I remember, be under 30%, you are like very likely to get a rejection. If you offer, because the other one sees this as unfair, now you're going to screw. Fuck you. You're getting 0, even if I get 0 as well. So all of the griefing thing, is based on considerations of fairness, and I think in the research that they did, I have done lots of research about the anthropologists going to different countries, different cultures, in different places. So what they found is that if people are more integrated into markets, they kind of tend to, they ask more fairness, because they are used to market transactions, and then they kind of expect some reciprocity between parties in the exchange. But they found like the only example where they found that the ultimatum offer of like $1 was accepted, I think was in one specific tribe in Peru called the Machiguengas, that they got they accepted the $1 offer, even if the other one gets 99. And when they were asking the people, why do you take 1? And don't you think this is unfair? They were like, well, it's free money. Why not? Well, I don't know. And there's a theory. There is this Joseph Heinrich. Do you know this book called Weird? The weirdest people in the world. He's an anthropologist. I think the last name is Heinrich, and he explains like how like a Western ends up with this type of morals, and this is based on the church regulation for marriages in the Middle Ages, lots of different historical situations, but then end up through some evolutionary process into the institutions of the West, basically. And so, yeah, going back, so these are the kind of things we think about when we design Kleros. It's not just I guess blindly following Schelling points. Schelling points are important, but there's more to life than Schelling points. Your thoughts?
Yeah, and different systems can have multiple competing Schelling points, and like what you think the Schelling point is as a user depends on what you think the other people think it's going to be, and a lot, ultimately it's like it's a social context thing, so it depends on your tribe, and if your tribe's a bunch of AIs, maybe it's different, it's like these are things you have to keep in mind.
So we'll see if bots actually have empathy or not with people, and how this affects their choosing of sharing points, right? So that's going to be like a cool thing to discover. I guess anything else, William, you want to mention? I mean, or it's already...
That's good for me this week.
Okay. Thank you, William. Oh, Gene, this is the world record of the community calls. I guess 1 hour and a half. So that's a lot. I guess anything else we should mention? I mean, we've given like a bit of overview of everything. AI and Kleros, I guess.
Yeah, I think we have enough for today, but we could maybe do like a follow-up episode of AI and Kleros in 1 month. I'm certain that there will be lots of different things to talk about the way things are going.
1 week ago there was no like a mod bots. I mean, yeah, it seems also already a old narrative. The mod bots. There is other things now, layer 2s and all that. Okay, so let's announcements. I mean, not announcements. People might want to know. Okay, the audits of V2 are almost finishing. We are like presenting the last corrections we made, and they will. Sartora will produce a report, and this will end the auditing process. Then we have on Friday a webinar with Sci-File. It's Canadian organization, association about international law, and we are partnering with them to push use cases of Kleros in Canada, and so we can bring them a bit closer to William. And so we have Friday at 10 Eastern time. So if you want to come and watch a bit of presentation, I'm going to speak a bit of Kleros, AI. Then there's going to be Abbas Purmanshemi, who's going to speak from Sci-File. I mean, how they are seeing the AI and the law. So it's going to be a really, really cool webinar to attend. Sign up if you want, or don't sign up, and it's still going to be on Twitter live, so as you prefer. Okay, anything else, Jim?
Oh, I think that's it.
Okay. Well, I mean, thank you very much for coming, guys. And we will see you next Monday. We will also have a very special presentation on Monday in Spanish about the use of Kleros for enterprise. But yeah, we will inform you on social media very soon. Bye-bye. See you. Thank you for coming.
I see you.